Oilers fans are livid following last night's defeat to the Florida Panthers in a rematch of the Stanley Cup Final. And yes, it was a very interesting defeat, to say the least. A very adventurous game from start to finish. But before we recap all of that, make sure to subscribe here to Oilers Digest, as we are on the road to 2,500 subscribers. But we've yet to get to 2,400 subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and get us one step closer. And before we get one step closer to recapping last night's game, this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who are proud supporters of Team Canada. While they've been supporting our national team defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country. Whether you are in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Halifax, Winnipeg, Mississauga, Edmonton, Victoria, or St. John's, from coast to coast, Rentals.ca have a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you. Their website is clean and easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, finding all of the options in your area. Find your home court with Rentals.ca and check out their website in the pinned comment down below, or also in the description, which you can also find below the video. And again, thank you to Rentals.ca for supporting our channel, Team Canada, and for you guys for finding the best rentals across the country. Now, folks, let's get right into it, shall we? Yes, the Cats came back. Yes, the first matchup between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers since June 24, 2024 in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final resulted in a 6-5 win for the Florida Panthers. Yes, from the score, you can see very adventurous, but the Oilers and Panthers, it was a case of who wanted it the least when it came to the scoring summary here. Jesper Bokvist opens it up shorthanded off of a misplay by Evan Bouchard at the blue line. Of course, the Oilers getting an early power play opportunity, and the Panthers capitalize it with a shorthanded goal. And then Zach Hyman ties it up at 1 there for McDavid and Bouchard. And then before the end of the first period, Matthew Tkachuk on a very controversial goal, based off of a very controversial penalty. We'll get into that in a little bit there, making it 2-1 Panthers on the power play with a bit of a redirection. You can see there with his foot. Of course, it was reviewed for a distinct kicking motion. I think it looked like a distinct kicking motion, but it is ruled a good goal. And then coming from the situation room here, the explanation, Rule 37.4 states in part that a puck that deflects into the net off an attacking player's skate who does not use a distinct kicking motion shall be ruled a goal. A puck that is directed into the net by an attacking player's skate shall also be ruled a goal, as long as there's no distinct kicking motion evident. And again, let's just go right back into it here. You can sort of see his foot turn. Doesn't really look like it, just deflects off of his foot. You can see his foot kind of, I don't know, propel, but what's done is done there, and it's just more cloudiness when it comes to the NHL and their ability to, review goals. Again, not just kicking motion, high sticks. Goal interference is the biggest one. But going into the second and third periods here, you can see the Oilers blow it wide open in the second period from 3 straight goals from Hyman. Connor Brown with a bit of a reverse Draisaitl there in the rockstar zone that they call it, with the one-timer from Corey Perry finding a way past Sergei Bobrovsky, which is something that you'd never really seen Sergei Bobrovsky give up in his career before. And then Leon Draisaitl makes it 4-2 Oilers before Gustav Forsling with a weird one to make it 4-3 Oilers. It sort of redirected off of the back of Ty Emberson and into the net. And then the third period, folks, this is where the Oilers lost the game here. You can see the Florida Panthers, the last 5 goals of the game, they got 4 of them, with Nico Mikkola on a 2-on-1 pass from Anton Lundell, makes it 4-4. And then Sam Reichert makes it 5-4 off of an extremely weird shot, straddling the red line there, and banks it in off of the head of Stuart Skinner. Kasperi Kapanen gets another dirty one of his own, making it 5-5 before, with little under 7 minutes to go, Carter Verhaeghe all alone in the slot makes it 6-5 Panthers, and that is the final from last night's game. You can see there the hockey stat cards. The score doesn't say everything here, folks, but the play last night from the Edmonton Oilers was shocking. Of course, coming into this game with a 5-game win streak, and they looked like a completely different team last night. I don't know if it was the elephant in the room when it came to, the return of the Florida Panthers, the boogeyman coming back into Rogers Place, quite haven't shaken off the Game 7 loss, but I don't know what it was about this game last night. It was like it was a completely different NHL team. It was almost like it was the Bakersfield Condors with, a few sprinkle of star power there. You can see Zach Hyman there took a shot from Evan Bouchard deflected right up into his visor there, and then he came back into the third period. Swollen nose, all bloodied up. You can look for that picture if you really want to. I wasn't gonna do that disservice to anybody, but you can go look for it on your own accord. It is not pretty. I will just warn you right now. And then Nugent-Hopkins having a solid game. Him and Vasily Podkolzin were paired together after Kris Knoblauch loaded up with McDavid and Draisaitl. And yeah, they looked pretty solid together. Kasperi Kapanen again with that dirty goal, making it 5-5. He's really found his way into the top six for the Edmonton Oilers, which makes me wonder what happens when Victor Arvidsson comes back into the lineup, if they switch, or if Arvidsson is placed into the bottom six to sort of give that bottom six a boost, because it desperately needs it in the absolute worst way. And then Evan Bouchard, oh boy, big fan of Evan Bouchard, but again, not his strongest game last night. Of course, the shot attempts when he was on the ice were 16-8 for Edmonton, but those 8 attempts for the Florida Panthers, they really capitalized on the most of those 8 attempts anyways. I mean, it was just not his best game. And even Matisse Ekholm, Mr. Consistency for the Edmonton Oilers, you never see him have a bad game, but last night, him and Bouchard, again, not the strongest at all. And even, the first line caved in there by the Florida Panthers, and it was just very, very strange. And then Bob Stauffer here, of course, yeah. My thoughts exactly, Bob. Sloppy game tonight. Both teams made a ton of mistakes. Neither goalie was locked in. But, I mean, the bright side, Hyman 2 goals, 7 goals for 7 points in his last 6. Draisaitl 1-1 for 2 points last night. And then 6 goals for 9 assists for 15 points in the last 6 games played, which is just huge numbers. I mean, not much else you can say about that. And then McDavid, 13 points in his last 6 games played. But the Oilers dropped to 8-2-0 in their last 10 games played. He's looking at the stat card here. I mean, it's usual suspects. And then, of course, Jeff Skinner, again, not the strongest game at all. But when it comes to goaltending, Sergei Bobrovsky, you can see the stat line. So in 8:33, the Oilers, they must have won that game. But no, Stuart Skinner doing throwing it back to November Stuart Skinner days with a 786. Of course, not all of this game was on Skinner or even Evan Bouchard. I know most Oiler fans have thrown those two under the bus, but it was a full team effort last night. Play as a team, lose as a team when it comes to all of the 4 lines last night. Of course, you can see there Hyman, McDavid, and Nugent-Hopkins, and then you saw there for a bit Hyman, Draisaitl, and McDavid. But the real shocking part about this is the bottom 6: Jeff Skinner, Adam Henrique, and Matisse Janmark with a 0% Corsi for percentage. Yes, they were on for 11 chances against, and they didn't provide anything of their own. And even the fourth line, I should say, even though they did get a goal, again, very limited time together, but giving up a lot more than they provided for, even though that one chance for did end up in the back of the net. But of course, Hyman, Draisaitl, and McDavid, the nuclear option, whenever they are put together, it's phenomenal. But you have enough depth throughout the lineup where you can sort of split those two apart without having to rely on them at all. With the heat map there, you can see Florida all over the Edmonton Oilers last night compared to Edmonton around Sergei Bobrovsky. Florida, they attack you from anywhere in everywhere with their either ferocious forecheck, and they are a hard team to play against. The Oilers had to play for that team for 7 games last year, and of course, the memories start to kick in, and you could see it on their stick last night. But the real story last night, folks, the officiating. You can see there in the first 2 periods, the Darnell Nurse tripping, and then he got another 2 for unsportsmanlike conduct. I guess Kelly Sutherland was a little bit too soft in Darnell Nurse's criticism of him, so he got an extra 2, and that's what led to the Kachuk soccer goal. And then in the second period there, it started to get a little bit chippy, and then in the third period, apparently both teams played super clean, even though Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had his stick slashed in half in the dying seconds of the game. But apparently that's just a clean hockey play. I don't know about you folks. But yeah, the officiating, not the best. I hate pulling the officiating card, but the hockey's a lot better when both teams have, the same sort of treatment on the ice. Makes for, more parity throughout the game. But when one team is obviously not getting the calls that they, I don't want to say deserve, that, you see on the ice, it just does not make for a good product. And what else doesn't make for a good product? I mean, seeing Evan Bouchard all alone on his own last night, and you can see there at the Oilers and Panthers bench, there was a bit of a scrum after Jeff Skinner was hit, and there was no whistle blown, and the Panthers played right through, and that's what led to their goal. But Folks, enough about that. I mean, it's one of those games where you watch and then you don't have to watch ever again. You burn that tape. Of course, Kris Knoblauch and Connor McDavid were asked about that. McDavid said, okay, you can't let this snowball into a losing streak. And Kris Knoblauch was asked about the nurse unsportsmanlike, and he said, well, when you mouth off to the refs, that's kind of what you expect to happen. Because if that happens in the first period, the other two periods will not be so kind to you at all. And of course, McDavid saying you cannot let this snowball, and they shouldn't let this snowball, as they also take on another Atlantic Division team in the form of the Boston Bruins on Thursday night. The Bruins are not doing too hot themselves this year, and it's always a good one between the Bruins and Oilers. A good old 1988 and 1990 Stanley Cup rematch between these two. The Bruins, of course, huge win in Vancouver on Saturday, and they are in Calgary tonight, and then they will be in Edmonton on Thursday, and we will get that one set up for you on Oilers Digest this week. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about last night's game. Is that sort of a, burn that game tape, never have to see it again? Because these aren't the same Oilers that we're used to seeing over the past couple weeks. We know what they're capable of, and I just thought the nerves got to them a little too much than they expected. And make sure to subscribe here to the channel. Folks, have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day, and we will see you soon. I'm Matt.